high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Catholic. This is Katie Hagan, and I'm with Mike Walsh.
You know what? We're going to keep it going. I don't care. Hey, everybody. It's Mike Walsh. And that was Katie's second attempt at doing the intro for the podcast. And I think she did a lovely job.
Did I miss something?
No, you did great. But you just started laughing anyway. I think it was nervous laughter. But that's okay. So, right. Everyone, Katie Hagan is one of my newest co-hosts. She will be, as you may recall, for many years on the Talking Catholic podcast, we would have a regular segment from Catholic Charities. And they were always put together by our then marketing manager for Catholic Charities, Diocese of Camden, Catholic Charities of South Jersey, whatever we're going by now. That was put together by our good friend Mary McCusker, who was with us for many years. It took us a long time to find someone of equal quality to replace her. But joining us just a few months ago, actually, I think at the turn of the year, you joined us, right, Katie?
Yeah, 2 days after Christmas.
2 days after Christmas. Got her in right before the wire. And so you've been on board now for just
a little over 90 days.
Yeah. She likes to remind me, I'm past my 90 days.
I'm out of my probation period.
But during those 90 days, you've done a great job, actually.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You really are. You've been a spectacular addition to the team. I'm glad that we finally got you on the podcast. I know you had a brief stint with Jen on a little intro a few weeks ago. Actually, probably a couple months ago now. Mm-hmm. Was it the promo for the Catholic Charities Executive Directors edition?
Yeah.
So that was another great edition of the podcast. If anyone didn't get a chance to hear it, we had all 5 executive directors from around the state of New Jersey of all the Catholic charities that came and did a presentation at this office. We are in 1845 in the Catholic Charities Diocese of Camden offices right now. And it's been good. So go back and listen to that. You'll have heard Katie's first thing, which probably went a lot more smoothly because I'm sure Jen gave her plenty of chances to redo it. But I was like, nope. I gave her one shot, and we were in it for the second one.
I spaced out during that. I had a moment. I had a blip.
It's okay. You're going to do fine now. So what has your first 90 days been like working for Catholic Charities?
It's been a lot of fun, actually. I enjoy working with everyone. Everyone actually makes me laugh, so that makes work a lot easier. And I really like the work that we're doing, so I like promoting it. So. Well,
I've said for years that anytime I'm having a bad day, I like to come over to Catholic Charities because everybody here boosts my spirits. Part of it is because of how it's a building full of people with great attitudes. That's not to say they're in a great mood, but they have great attitudes. They have hard jobs, and that can make anybody moody. But when I'm over here, I don't know. They're just great people, and I love talking to them. And I have a soft spot in my heart for social workers. So being here is nice, and I'm glad that you've had a good experience with it so far. Mm-hmm. That's nice. Yeah. And the executive director Kevin Hickey hasn't been too difficult on you.
He's been great.
He's been very kind and helpful.
Yeah, he actually has been. Okay. He's been very kind. He's given me a lot of great opportunities. I've been to DC twice already in my first 90 days.
Yeah, so. How was that trip? Tell us a little bit about that.
The first one was great. The first one was great, but I had to leave early. The first one was for an event, CSMG, Catholic Social Ministry Gathering. And I was really excited for it because I was only here for a few weeks, and I was given the opportunity to go up on the Hill and advocate for some things. And I had to leave the day before the Hill visit, and so I was really disappointed. And I was like, you know what? It was too soon anyway. I've only been here for 3 weeks, so maybe next year. And then not even a month later, I was invited to go back up but go back down. DC's below us.
It is. It's okay.
DC's below us.
Well, good job catching yourself. That's nice. Congratulations.
So I was invited to go back down to Catholic Charities USA, meet with their marketing team, and then I got to have a Hill visit. So that was really incredible to meet with legislative staff and advocate on the behalf of Catholic Charities. So
you also got one heck of a selfie while you were down there too.
Yes, I did.
Surrounded by, let's see, the dogwoods were starting to bloom, and it was with you and Sylvia Lemo, who's also been on the podcast many times. She was with you. Yeah. And who took that selfie?
Senator Cory Booker.
That's right. A guy who knows how to take a picture of himself with some advocates.
And it was right after Mr. Kevin Hickey said he didn't want to take a selfie. He wanted a nice staged photo in front of the Capitol, and then Senator Booker came over and got a selfie with us, and he was blown away. So it was really funny.
Yeah, I love the younger politicians. They do a great job of knowing how to, knowing how to take their own selfies. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm. Great angle.
If I can give anyone who's interested in public office a suggestion, is learn how to be your own social media genius. Yep. It's very helppful. Mm-hmm. And actually, speaking of social media, I have to give you a lot of credit for that too.
Thanks.
You know, Mary was gone for about a year, and so social media was a little bit dormant during that time. We tried to do stuff where we could, the communications department for the Diocese of Camden. But if anyone hasn't been on on the Catholic Charities of South Jersey social media pages, I encourage you to follow them. Katie's been putting up a ton of great content, and you've been doing it with a lot of different bells and whistles. You have your videos up there. It's been nice. So well done.
Thanks. No, it's a lot of fun. I love that in the nonprofit world, you can just kind of experiment with a bunch of things. So testing with graphics and videos and photos, it's been a really good time. I have a lot more leniency here than working in the corporate world, so I've been really enjoying it.
That is, to anybody who's listening who would like a job in PR, I tell everyone that now this is not your first job, obviously, working in marketing communications. You come to us very skilled. However, I do encourage other people to do it, like who are just starting out, to cut their teeth in the nonprofit world, because that's exactly the case. You get to do 1,000 different things because there's no one else to do the work, and usually, we enjoy, pushing the envelope every now and again.
Yeah.
So
I started my career in nonprofit, and it was a lot of fun. And then I went into all the other industries, and I still came back. I was like, you know what? Let's have a good time again.
Well, that's because the other industries usually suck out your soul or downsize you, one or the other.
Yep, one or the other, if not both at the same time.
There you go.
So.
There you go. Well, we're very happy to have you on board. Thank you for agreeing to be one of my regular co-hosts. So you'll be hopefully hearing Katie's voice on at least a monthly basis, which will take some of the pressure off of my other co-hosts who I've been relying on a lot lately. So thank you for that. Although I hope that your colleagues here understand that you're going to be picking from them more often now.
They don't know that yet.
That's probably for the best. Just surprise them with it.
Yes, just go surprise everyone once a month. Pull them in for a podcast. So
we have a very special podcast this week. I mentioned this several months ago. I had the opportunity to go to the AID. They don't want to call it a conference. I forget what they call it now, but it's an AID presentation series. I was able to present at it several months ago, and it's basically it's run through Catholic Charities, and it supports disaster relief efforts and how to how they bring together a lot of people to discuss best practices and what can be done. I'm sure you'll be going to that in no time, Katie. But while I was there, I got to interact with some folks who had recently been hit by a hurricane. And then just a few weeks ago, a number of people from this office of Catholic Charities of South Jersey deployed down to Florida to assist with some of the disaster relief, even though it's months later now. Can you tell us who was here with us today, Katie? And why you invited them?
Yeah, but you wrote down the whole pronunciation of the last names and everything, so I thought you were doing that.
These are your,
okay.
These are your colleagues.
I know. So we have Janita with us, we have Melissa, and we have Jenecia. I did not write down their titles or anything like that. They are my colleagues, so we are on a first name basis. So that is who we have today.
Nice. That is nice, Katie. Yeah, good job getting out of that one.
You tricked me with that.
Well, let's start with the one who's been on the podcast most often. Hey, Melissa, what's going on?
Hi, Mr. Walsh.
Hey, Melissa, remember when I told you to bring the microphone closer to you?
I do.
Okay. Melissa, can you tell us your last name and then tell us what your job is here?
Hruska.
Yeah.
And kind of a few. So I'm a program director for disaster response and recovery, which is kind of what brought me on board 10 years ago. And now I also am the coordinator for Atlantic County and Cape May County. And I oversee our nutritional health and wellness program, which covers all 6 counties, and our parish assistance program.
Remember when I told people earlier, just a few minutes ago, that when you come to work for a nonprofit, you get to do a lot of work? Melissa seems to be the poster child for doing a lot of work.
I think it's one of those things where there's always a job to be done, and if you're the bright one that raises your hand, like, oh, I can help with that, it just kind of gets assigned to you and never leaves.
That sounds about right, actually.
Yeah.
You know, you really need to, when you go into meetings from now on, you got to strap down your right hand.
Yeah.
There you go. Just sit on it. It'll be
Something
fine.
to be said about silence sometimes.
There is.
Yeah.
Though.
Overachievers, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Something to be said.
And I'm suddenly reconsidering my entire career now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Janita, what's your last name and what's your title?
Eason, Janita Eason, and my title is Case Manager for HPRP2 at Salem County.
And what does that do? See, there was a loaded question right there.
Homeless prevention and rapid rehousing. So
Okay.
basically making sure nobody is out the doors and making sure people is in the doors.
Ooh, I like that.
That was really good.
That's well said. Thank you very much. That's a professional
I'm
right there.
stealing that.
Write that down, would
Writing
you?
that down for the website.
All right, and lastly, we have Jenecia. Jenecia, what's your last name and what is your job?
So I'm still new to this. My name is Jenecia Jennings, and I'm a case manager in Gloucester County. I operate maybe three programs, or maybe 4 programs, depending on wherever my hands find me. I do the food pantry in Gloucester County. I also do a program called Homeless HPP, which is called Homeless Prevention, and I also do the SSH is for homeless people as well. So I assist with back rent, any type of rental assistance, and some of the utility assistance. I help my program assist with individuals who have a higher income bracket. Janita's assist with a lower income bracket. So anytime you're in Gloucester County, if you're looking for food, come see me.
Ooh, there you go. That's a nice open-ended invitation. I like that.
Yeah, we have some marketers here.
Listen,
Yeah.
I told you I'm not coming here for a reason. These people know what they're doing. So one of the things you did recently that is not in your job profile, any of you, is you all deployed down to Venice, Florida, to assist with them. They got hit by Hurricane Ian. That's right, Hurricane Ian. Did a lot of damage down there last summer. And, well, first of all, Katie, since you're the marketing manager here, are you familiar with the whole deployment thing with Catholic Charities?
I am now. So
Okay.
I met with everybody individually to learn about the difference between disaster recovery and relief and the deployment, why we do deployments to help other Catholic charities.
Ooh,
And
tell me that one.
that one.
Yeah, tell me that one. Why do we do deployments to help other Catholic charities?
Well, actually, Jennifer Dyer, who's been on this podcast a lot, right?
She has. We love Jennifer Dyer.
One of the reasons that she pointed out to me that this specific Catholic Charities is waiting on a grant that I think is available come this month in April, but prior to that, they didn't have like the relief that they needed. So
You're talking about the one in Venice?
yeah. So Catholic Charities USA asks Catholic charities across the United States to help, and apparently our Catholic Charities in South Jersey always raises our hands to help. But something Jennifer Dyer told me is that what a lot of people don't realize is that the people that work down in the Archdiocese of Venice, they were affected by the hurricane too. So it's really helpful for us to come down so they can get some respite.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Not a word I use often.
Some people like respite. But if you want to say respite, that's fine.
I
That's
pronounce
cool.
things.
Listen, listeners, the one thing you're going to have to get used to is be prepared. Katie's a Philly girl. So there's going to be some Phillyisms that show up. You know, she may be talking about Johns at some point. We don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But just be prepared. Be prepared, everybody. Now, Melissa, you have been... Actually, I guess I should ask all three of you. I know Melissa's been on several deployments. Have you two been on deployments
No,
before?
this is the
was my
first
first
one.
time.
First one.
Then I can't wait to talk to you all. Okay. Now, Melissa, you've done several.
I have actually not done
Oh.
several official deployments. Nope. So I've done virtual deployments
Okay.
and assisted with training for virtual trainings for other disasters. But this was my first time.
This was your first too?
Yeah, my first time on the ground at this phase of recovery.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is good then. We get a fresh perspective on that, because the people I've had on before have done it many times, and they're tired and jaded. So having you all be the sort of newbies, this is great. Okay. Well, I guess the first question is Melissa, actually any one of you can answer this question. How did you hear about it, and what encouraged you to go to it?
It was on it was sent to us in an email, and they was explaining everything about it and just going into detail and see who wanted to volunteer to go down and help. It was great for me because I never did it, and I wanted to learn more about it. I know my youngest daughter, she went to Dominican Republic some years ago and helped did missionary work over there. And she always told me, if you ever get a chance to do something like this, try it, because you're going to really love it and you're going to get more value of it. So that's what made me, want to learn more about it. And when I got selected, I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Just doing what I love to do, which is help people.
Yeah. What about you? Now that I know that you're not a newbie, Melissa, or that you are a newbie, rather.
How did I hear about it?
Well, how did you hear about it? Why did you want to go do it?
I mean, clearly I have a passion for disaster work. Like I said, it's why I've started with Hurricane Sandy originally. So
maybe that's why I always thought you did this before, because you were so connected to the Superstorm Sandy stuff that happened 10 years ago. Right,
which, I mean, still is actually happening. But yeah, I mean, most of my career here has been disaster response and recovery. But this was my first deployment this early into a disaster. So, of course, I've attempted other opportunities, and for one reason or another, it just wasn't able to work out. And fortunately, this one did.
Wow, cool. And Jenecia, what made you go down?
So, I'm sorry. So when I seen the email, I was like, oh, I want to do it. I emailed my supervisor, which is Cindy LeBron, because she's done it before as well. And she was talking about it before, like months ago to me. And I was like, oh, I would love to do that. And then when I finally met Melissa. Yeah. So I'm like, wait, I'll be working with Melissa? Oh, yeah, I want to do it. How do I sign up? I emailed them immediately. I said, I want to do it. Listen, please pick me when you do it. Because I love helping people. And that's something that, a lot of people don't like to do, but I love helping people. If I can do it for free, which I would, because
careful.
The benefit be very, very careful. But the benefit of helping someone, just to make someone smile, and just to make let them know, hey, I understand. I may not understand what you're going through, but here's something to get you through until the next day. Yeah. And if we can just provide that for someone, I'm like, yes, please sign me up. I want to go.
Awesome. I like to hear that.
Didn't you make arrangements before you were even approved for it?
Oh, yes. Listen, I set up things with my husband. Listen, I'm going to Venice. I told my husband, here's the plan for the kids. So just know you got to make your own dinners. You got to do everything by yourself. I made the babysitter arrangements, so no worries. And this is even before they even told me, yeah. I was already setting up the scene.
That's determination right there. Right. I like that. That is nice. And it was a 2-week deployment? You guys went on?
It was
originally it was
10 days.
10 days. Okay. And they asked us to stay until that Friday, and we stayed.
Okay. So when you got down there, what did you actually do while you were down there?
Wow.
First, we got settled in, and then we had to go to a meeting with Jennifer Dyer and what was her name? Janet. Janet, of course, I love both of them.
Yes.
Jennifer is amazing, and she has that New York feel. And I said, I'm from Jersey City, so I know I like her. But we had the meeting with them, and then they had took us on a tour.
Yes.
And that's what blew my mind, because I'm like, oh, it's TV, but when you have to see it in person, it's a lot different, and everybody has their story as to what they seen. It was crazy.
What did you see?
Go ahead, Melissa.
It's kind of funny. Not funny, clearly, like that, but, I think going down there this many months after the storm, because you stop really seeing it in the news, your brain kind of has you fooled into thinking it's kind of cleared up, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not really living in this phase of disaster where it is still very much a disaster. Mm-hmm. So there was spots where we saw a lot of nothing.
Wow.
which
So just like stuff was wiped away.
gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could see. What I thought was interesting was there was areas that you could see where there was absolutely nothing except the marks of what used to be. These beautiful pavers for this driveway, and then you could see this area where there used to be a foundation of someone's actual home, and then concrete for this pool. But so you could imagine what used to be for somebody pulling up at the end of their day, whether it was vacation, whatever that was for them. And suddenly all of that was gone.
Wow.
And you could just see this imprint of a memory based on the pieces that were left. And then there was other areas where, it was like the faces of these houses were just removed, like a dollhouse. And that was what it made me feel like. It was like a flashback of being a little girl and just wanting to move the parts, your little dolls, and rearrange the furniture. And their furniture was there. The curtains were blowing in the wind. Their appliances, it was just, you just took the face of these homes and just peeked inside.
And that's not a few months later. That's 6 months and 7 months.
Yeah, because it was September 28th.
Yeah.
when it took place.
5.5 months later.
Wow.
But
What about you, Janita? What did you see down there?
Oh, wow. Signs. We seen signs. Remember the signs they
the
had?
looters.
No looting here.
Yeah.
I think I seen a sign that still says hope. It was just like basically similar to what she said. Just imagine you was at the beach and then tomorrow you go on your way to the beach and there's no beach there.
Wow.
And you can tell that it was life there. Like literally, it made you think of like the rapture.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Literally. Everything was still there, and then tomorrow nothing, or just clothing somewhere, or a shoe somewhere, or just stuff that you can tell it literally was life at that moment, but it's no life at all now.
Wow.
One of the things that really, and I still keep thinking about, I even look at the pictures, how we were able to see boats. Not no small, tiny boats. I'm talking about humongous, big fish boats on top of each other, like crushed.
Wow.
So I was like, wait a minute, how did that happen? I'm like, a hurricane can do that? And then I asked Jen, I was like, what was that over there? She's like, that was a building. I said, a building was there. Could you imagine, because we live in the city, a whole building is completely gone.
Yeah.
That you would see every day. I said, a hurricane just sucked it out of it. I didn't know what hurricanes do, because my husband, he's from Miami, Florida, and he's been in Hurricane Andrew, I believe it was. And he said, honey, you never want to experience a hurricane. He explained to me, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, maybe it's not as bad as he's making it out to be. But I thank God for allowing me to be there to see it is as bad as he said it was, plus more.
Yeah. Did you get a sense of what that community was like before the hurricane hit?
You can tell that it was so beautiful.
Really?
You can tell that it was lively, it was fun, vacation spots. You can tell that it was family oriented. It was like retirements for a lot of seniors. You can tell that it was just like happiness there.
Yeah.
And, right now, still probably, which I know it is, they trying to bring back a little bit of happiness. So with the restoration that they, rebuilding everything that they have, you can tell that they trying. But you can tell that before it was a lot of happiness.
Yeah.
And that happiness just washed away.
I think reflecting on that side of it and kind of going a little bit deeper as all of that happiness was wiped away in any community where there's anything thriving, happiness, places, vacations, jobs are thriving. And so not only have all of these people lost everything they called their own, but employment is wiped too.
Yeah.
The boats Jenecia is reflecting on, they have a big commercial fishing industry down there, not just the boats that people have to kind of do, happy fishing and, retirement. You think of retirement communities and they're just going out on their boat. These are charter boats.
Yeah.
They're paid to take people out to do that. And commercial fishing boats, make money to supply people, with the fish and scallops and shrimp and all of those things into the restaurants that were thriving for happy people and vacations. And all of that is wiped out. every aspect. And the commercial fishing boats, they were stacked on top of each other. I mean, if you know the mass of a commercial fishing vessel, they were stacked on top of each other like Jenga.
Wow.
And it was very interesting that we showed up, when we did, because we got to see a little bit of some cleanup efforts. And one of the things I was fascinated from, coming from a family history of commercial fishermen, was watching. We would take this drive from the one office that we had started in back to the place that we were able to stay while we were there, and the cleanup of the commercial fishing vessels kind of started. And so every day, a crane had removed one or maybe another, and every day we watched this phase that people's livelihoods were in a sense kind of coming back apart to be put back together. It was just really interesting to be part of witnessing that, even in a snapshot of a picture.
So you mentioned the commercial fishermen a little bit. Who were you helping while you were there? What kind of families, what kind of individuals?
All of them.
All families.
Okay.
Any kind of family.
Any kind of family, yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't just low income or higher income. It was all of
families.
them.
Wow.
Any family that needed the assistance, we definitely worked our behinds off to get them assisted. And everybody know about it. Shout out to Melissa, because she came with a plan, and with the plan that she came with, she asked each and every one of us that were there, because we had some people that were from different Catholic charities, and she was able to take on responsibility as a supervisor, which she's a director, but she didn't make us feel like she was our boss. She made it feel like she was our friend and listen, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so we were able to come up, all of us collectively, come up with a plan so that they would be able to help
bring structure back to them.
Wow.
Right, and she doesn't get credit for a lot of things she does, but just to see her act in that capacity, I was like I definitely wanted to be around her, because that taught us a lot. And she and this is a disaster, but she was able to, even through the disaster, she came with a plan. She had a computer, she had laptop, she was just ready to get on the floor and take charge and keep going. So we were able to help a couple of families get funded while we were there, even though we did see all the disasters that were happening. But we were able to give somebody, before we left, we were able to give somebody some hope. Yeah. It's like, one lady said to me, what is your Facebook? What is your name? So that I can find you and I can just give you something. I said, you know what you can give me? Pay your light bill and take care of yourself. I said, because by you taking care of yourself, and that made me feel much better. I'll take care of this, you take care of that.
Look at that. That's what I like to hear. See, that's why I like coming over here. This is nice. I also enjoy the constant shout outs in front of Melissa to her face.
Right.
So, because I know she does not handle that well. So that is nice.
Of course.
She's a nice shade of red right now. That's
Thank
always
you.
Good. So while you were down there, you were talking about, getting people support. What kind of support was available to them that you were assisting with?
So it was rental
furniture. Some of them just needed beds. The people that had the holes in their roof, they had the blue tarps.
Oh, yeah.
So they needed just that to help assist them.
Clothing.
They just wanted stuff that really people take advantage of, like food. They need your food.
I laugh at her birthday. She say food.
And clothes. And down there, they also do weekly rentals. So, like the one lady, Miss Cammie. I met Miss Cammie on the phone. I called her and was talking to her, and she was explaining her situation. Miss Cammie is she'll be 80 years old next month.
She doesn't look it.
She told me on the phone, she said, I do not look my age. I still was working. I just lost everything. She had just had open heart surgery. So she was explaining to me her story. She didn't think that the storm was going to be as bad as it was, but she just happened to leave, and when she came back, her house was completely destroyed. She was also working at a dairy somewhere, and that job was destroyed too. Mind you, she's about to be 80, so she still was working. And her situation, she went to stay with her son. She didn't get along with his wife. She went to stay with the other son. She didn't get along with his dog. So she went to stay with the grandson, and the grandson wanted to keep her there, but she didn't want to be a burden on him. So she wound up, one of the clients that used to come into the dairy where she worked at had like what we would consider probably a garage or maybe a shed. he made it into like a bedroom for her, and he's been renting that out to her. But with her having to get the open heart surgery, she was just behind in, you know, like her bills and stuff. So I was able to help her with the weekly rental that she was behind, and was able to give her enough to help her for the next month to get caught back up. So I had to go do a home visit for her, because we do home visits down there. And when she kept telling me, she was like, when you meet with me, call me outside so I can come across to meet you. So I'm like, oh my goodness, where does she stay? But she meant to come across from the shed area. Well, I'm going to say home for her. Come across from her home area into the home to meet me at the front door. So she had to come outside in order to do that. But the room that they made for her was literally probably about this big.
Oh, wow.
And they put a queen size bed in there, a 70-inch flat screen TV.
Oh, yeah. It was nice.
She had her rocking
There you
chair
go.
on one side. She had this little thing right here where she put her clothes, and she needed some food. So I got her some food for her, and she was just like, oh my goodness, it's beans. So she telling me how to make these beans with this special dish, and with seafood. She said you got to put shrimp in there, crab meat, and lobster and potatoes. I'm like, that sounds like a seafood boil. She said, no, it's called something else. So I'm like, okay, I don't have a pen to write this down. But like her spirit, her demeanor, and her mindset was just like life. And it inspired me because, one, she's 80.
Yeah.
And she's still working. And she does not look her age like she said she did. She really looked like she was maybe 60, if that.
Wow.
And one of the questions, because we have to go by the questions that's on the paperwork, and I was like, I do not want to ask her this question, but they said, what impacted you the most with this situation? So I tried to reword it a little bit to make her more comfortable, and she was a pharmacist.
Oh, wow.
And she said that impacted her the most because she lost all her credentials. She put it in the tote, and she thought that it was closed, and it wasn't. So she can't get that stuff back.
Oh,
and at her age, it's hard to find all of the things that she needed to be able to have those things on the wall. But she says she's happy she's still alive. So that's one of the things that mattered the most to her. But she was such a sweetheart. And she told me, she was like, take my number down, just keep calling me. And I'm like, that's how she talked. She wants conversation.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that I learned down there, one of the main things that stuck out to me the most was when you call these people, some of them didn't need assistance anymore, but the last words they said was, thank you for reaching back out to me. I truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's just that voice that they needed to hear. They just needed somebody to listen to them, and they just wanted to have somebody respond to them. And some of them really didn't want much. They just wanted that, just to hear somebody care.
You know, it's funny. I was just about to ask you, did you find that to be the most important part of this, is talking to people and making sure that people felt like they were heard?
Answering calls, calling people so that they could be like, oh, I didn't know you guys exist. Like, you guys don't answer your phone. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and we all heard the story. This story stuck out to me, and I'm always going to take this story with me until the day I go to see Jesus. When we got there, and we all had met, and Janet had told us a story about someone that she knew. And she told us about, it was a gentleman and his family, and I'm pretty sure you guys know about that story because it touched my heart. She stated that she looked like the gentleman, they didn't think that it was him, his wife, and his son. And, you know, the storm wasn't supposed to hit the Fort Myers area. It was supposed to hit another area. So they didn't think to evacuate. They just stayed in their house. As the water was rising up, they decided to, you know what, we have to evacuate. She said that they had all got into the car, but before they drove off, he realized his mother and his father was at home around the corner. Mm-hmm. So at that split moment, they had to make a decision whether to drive off, and go and get your mother and father, and potentially not make it back, or drive away, and let your parents, see whatever's going to happen, however God is going to take them. And for the decision that he made was he had to drive off and leave his mother and father there to die. And my question to anybody is like, how do you make that decision and then be okay with that?
Yeah.
I said, oh my God. For me, I was like, oh my God, but you don't know what you would have done in that instant. And that was something that touched me to make me want to help people even more, because for that story to be told, and then you're just like, oh my God, I just want to find this man and hug him and say, it's going to be all right. You did as much as you could, but just to know that you could not save your parents, how can anybody? It's mental, it's everything, and I definitely want to know, like, how is he doing? Because mentally, how are you doing? A lot of people that we helped had a lot of mental issues as well, because they weren't able, like one young lady I helped, she said, I don't even feel safe in my own home.
Wow, really?
And that we take for granted, not to feel safe or just having that peace of mind. It ain't the money, but it's the peace and the safety. This can happen to any one of us. And I just thank God every day that, he didn't allow that to happen to us. Even though Sandy did hit New Jersey, it didn't. Some places got affected worse than others.
Yeah.
I was, so just to see that she doesn't feel safe in her own home, and I was like, well, what can I do to help you? Yeah. Because what can I do to help you? At least help you. And she needed her rent paid, and I was able to do that for her. But now she can feel something like she did get some type of relief or help. That we did help. Catholic Charity did come, and we did assist as much as we could. We would love to have done more. We called 300 people we done called. Maybe more than that. We called within the short period of time that we had.
Because we still have people that's living in their house but on the second floor.
Oh wow.
The whole bottom is completely gone, but the foundation is strong enough for them to be able to come to their house and go up the steps and survive.
Yeah. Melissa, Jenecia just made a mention to Superstorm Sandy. From the work you did in the fallout of Superstorm Sandy, which is basically when you came on board with Catholic Charities, right? Did you see similarities between what you did post Superstorm Sandy and here post Ian?
Sure. I think, there's some things in disaster work that are just in all disasters. It's interesting because if you've seen one disaster, you've seen one disaster, and that's a key thing in all disaster institutes and trainings, that they really want to drill into. Every disaster is different, and yet there's pieces of every disaster that are going to be the same. So I did definitely feel a different level of kind of confidence, just knowing this wasn't really my first go-round, kind of hearing stories and seeing the things that were seen. I was fortunate I was not impacted, by Sandy to have that direct relation, but I feel like I had seen almost every aspect of situations of other people being impacted. And I think what Jenecia was talking about is something that when you're not directly impacted in a disaster and you've never had an experience to go work with these survivors of a disaster, you think it's wooden windows. The storm comes through and it's like, oh, look, like we were talking about, there used to be this footprint of this beautiful home, or, where somebody else laid their head at night, and, oh, that house is gone and it'll just get rebuilt, or it won't. And, that's okay. And it's so much deeper. That's the easy part, in so many ways of recovery. It's the PTSD that people experience, having to evacuate everything they've worked for, and, the places they watch their kids, open their Christmas gifts and now they're grown, or where their family pictures hung on the wall, their late husband, their late wife, and you're running out the door and those memories, like Janita said, they're gone. Yeah. Those pieces are not replaceable. The safety, the security, the stability, you don't get that back. Yeah.
Like and the one family, remember the lady that had the 7 children and her husband? They had just relocated to Fort Myers 2 months before everything. They just packed up and left and started their life over. 2 months later, everything was destroyed. Wow. So she was in a shelter with her family for some months, and she had just got placed into an area where she don't know nothing about. So she's homeschooling her children, and her husband wound up getting incarcerated over something from his past. So she's home by herself with all 7 of these children. Oldest is 16, the youngest is 3. And the only thing she asked for was beds, if we could help get beds for her and her kids. And I had to do a Zoom call with her because how far she was from us. And we still was able to help assist her because her situation happened in Fort Myers. And even though she's now 2 hours away in that area, she says she homeschooling the kids because it's like a foreign area to her. She's by herself. Her husband, I think, was coming home soon, but she just asked for beds. That's all she wanted. She said, we have food right now. St. Vincent de Paul was able to place them into a house, but she just wanted to be out of the shelter because she literally started her entire life over. They just wanted to build, and then everything was taken from them within a matter of months. But she said the only thing that she was happy to hold on to was having this phone call and holding on to hope as long as she can.
Wow.
So one of the things I encouraged her, I said, if you got a piece of string, just hold on to it like it's a piece of hope. If you got a mustard seed, just look how little that is. That can come a long way, and just keep those things in mind because something will work out for you. And she was like, yeah, because I've been calling. I never got a response back. And I said, we are doing the best that we can to return every phone call we possibly can, but just know that somebody is waiting to help you out.
Yeah.
But she was happy to be able to get the stuff that she needed.
The work that you did down there was obviously necessary, considering how many people you worked with in the span of 2 weeks. I mean, that's a lot, and it is a little surprising that so many months later that it sounds like there's still so many basic needs that haven't been met yet.
Yeah,
I think again, to kind of reflect back. I think when you haven't been impacted and you haven't done that, that is the normal concept. It's months later. Why is it not done? When you're talking about something as large as the devastation, specifically, that they have gone through, there are hundreds of thousands of people that have registered with FEMA because of the impact of that disaster. And that's going to range from, renters who lost their jobs, so now they need renters assistance, which sounds minor, right, in comparison to somebody who lost their home, but for someone who lost their job and now have lost their wages, they lost that same stability. Yeah. They still had to find a different house because, their rental was destroyed or they had to relocate. All of those experiences stay the same, but when you're dealing with donations and you're dealing with the federal government and the state government and all of those things waiting for recovery to come out, there's a lot of things that you have to be careful with.
Yes,
it's kind of the jump in, it's the hurry up, and it's the wait at the same time, because you're not able to replace everything that was lost. And you're going to bring people back to what we call the new normal. And having somebody adjust from what was to what will be, and know that you have to take the approach, and our approach coming from Catholic Charities, which I think is amazing because it's shared across every agency, no matter where you go across the United States, is our mission is the same, and we're not there to swoop in and kind of, just check a box and run out. We're coming in to see what you need to bring you whole. Yeah. And so when you're talking about doing that, it's not as easy as just, oh, the storm happened and 30 days later, we're going to fix you. This takes years. I mean, we've seen it with how many disasters, Katrina, Sandy's 10 years later. I still was working with Sandy families just a few months ago. It's disaster takes a long time. They're not just homes. It's not just pictures. These are families. These are people. Yeah.
And we've seen it, certainly locally here, certainly with Sandy, but more recently with wildfires, as well as tornadoes ripping through South Jersey.
One of my daughter's friends' family got affected in the Mullica Hill area.
Ida came through and, ravaged parts of New Jersey, not just local here, in our diocese, but across the state. There's lots of recovery efforts still unseen, that people don't even know about. And I think that's what, if I can just for a moment, kind of stop on our reflection and just say thank you, to you and now Katie as well. But, there is so much work in disasters in general that are not seen by the community and the public eye, because once the disaster, stops being that immediate, news coverage, out of sight, out of mind, and people forget. But I think that also that's one of the beautiful things about what we do in this agency is a lot of our work, is not always seen, the nitty gritty, the dirty parts, aren't always noticed because we're not out there talking about it. We come because we believe in this agency and we believe in what we do, and once you guys pull us into the room, and we get a moment to talk about that, that's when people get to know really who we are and what we do. And so thank you for always giving us the opportunity to reflect on that too.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Whenever we do one of these podcasts with the social workers, it's always, I have nothing to say. There's nothing right. And I'm not, same thing happens every single time. I ask one question and then I don't need to worry about talking the rest of the time because you guys all have such great stories.
Yeah, I don't know why you just do 54 minutes. I should have like a 4 hour.
It's more to.
We need more time.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I met with each one of them one-on-one to hear about their experience, and I think each conversation was an hour long. So there's like 3 hours worth of stories minimum between the three of them.
So what was it like to live down there? I mean, you guys were all in the same space at night, trying to that must have been a nice experience, sort of.
Yeah, they get up and drink coffee. I'm not a coffee girl. I'm a water girl.
We would get up and just watch the sunset, and it was easier for me to.
That would be the sunrise.
Beautiful.
Sorry, the sunrise. I'm so sorry. So sorry. I said
I've been
wrong.
correcting her since Florida. I just
Listen, and it also helped us to build a stronger relationship for each other, because I'm like, I didn't know Melissa was a director. I mean, when I first met her, let me tell you what this girl lady did to me when she first met me.
It's all lies.
Because she doesn't come in like, I'm a director. She come in like a normal person. And I'm like, who you?
She did. No, she did.
I didn't know who she was. Like, you think about it. Like, I worked in
She talked to me like it was my first day and I didn't belong there.
Right. I didn't know who she was.
I think it might have been the first time I had to pull the title card. Like, listen,
I'm a director.
Listen.
Okay,
I know you've been
like
here
you
for a
now.
minute, but
Okay. But it made me love her even more. Even more than what I didn't like. And then I got the chance to live with her. I was like, oh yeah, she's not that bad. I like her. Every morning we got up, coffee time. Yes, it's coffee time. It's ready. You making the coffee? I'll be there in a minute.
And what time?
And then here comes Janita with her cup, with her
5 a.m.
on.
5 a.m., right?
Yeah,
5
with her
a.m.
cup with
I was up
juice.
making that coffee.
A little juice and like, hey, and sit outside. But she's working. But I
Janita
loved
was
it.
more like 6:30 though.
Yeah, they let me.
We were
sleep in.
typically up at 5.
nice.
Yeah.
But
After I
but
went to
she's
bed
working.
at 1, mind you, I was
Yeah,
doing some
she
like
was
20-hour
working.
days
She
down
was
there.
working.
She was working.
She
Yeah.
was working.
I was like, you don't take a break now.
I went
No.
to sleep
Sleep
and
with a
woke up. She's
laptop.
still up.
Yeah. But I thought it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Getting to know them. You get to know your colleagues, on different levels, depending on, how often you see them and all of those things. But, to share a home with 2 people, that you don't really know other than in passing, it can kind of be like, oh man,
Right, I hope they're not nasty girls.
it was, I think especially being in the position of disaster response, I think it really gave us an opportunity to kind of come together on that and feel a different level of support from each other. For
Right.
them, social work is social work and disaster response is different. You're definitely hearing heavy stories in our field all of the time, but disaster stories are very different, And so to be able to have that time with them, and be able to reflect and just kind of share those things and, what's going on in your mind and kind of think through that and you kind of find it as a form of self-care. We got to laugh together. We got to have coffee together, watch the sun come up, like take the moments that were really heavy and process that and still stop and take a moment of reflection to take in all of the beauty that everybody
Yes.
believed in
Right.
and lived in and is looking to kind of find again in their recovery.
See how amazing she is? You see how she just did that and just sucked you in like, oh really? Could you teach me?
And I think one of the things that made me enjoy my time with them is beyond sisterhood, beyond Catholic Charities. It's more like family, because
Right.
we all had the same drive, which was
Yeah.
to help satisfy somebody in the best way possible, just giving them that sense of hope, letting them know that somebody is caring for you, somebody is trying to help you out the best way possible, and just putting an impact on somebody else's life. We all woke up literally like, how many are we going to try to get today?
Yeah.
Like, how are we going to go buy this? Like, even though they had their coffee, I had my little juice. That one day, Now I know not to drink orange juice by itself because I was like, what is happening?
Sleepy.
It made me tired. I said, oh no, I'm done with orange juice. I got to have something else to go with it. But we just enjoyed each other's company. We all had the same drive and the same passion, and that just made a great connection.
Yeah.
Great connection.
This sound familiar to you, Katie? You know?
Oh, wow.
What?
Well,
With our team?
well, yeah, it's similar.
Oh my
Well,
God, this
no,
snarky
no,
look. Let me
no,
just,
no, hold on.
I'm just going to
Hold on now.
narrate a little bit that
Hold
Katie
on.
is looking at Mike with a look of, nope, I
Like,
don't
what's
know.
relationship?
Wait,
Do you think it's like a sisterhood? You think that?
You know what? I've often thought we're all sisters together, Katie. No. Listen to them talk about, like, so the only thing I have to relate it to is you haven't done a disaster thing yet. You haven't deployed yet, but you're going to deploy at some point, and you're going to have this feeling as well. But for us as communicators and people who've done a lot of events and stuff like that, it's always the events where we come together and, you know, it's high stress and stuff like that. And that's where we kind of like form similar bonds. Though I'm fairly certain I've never formed a sisterly bond, brotherly bond, any fraternal bond of any kind with my colleagues. So I'm not going to deploy with you people anytime soon because, quite frankly, I don't need that kind of friendship in my life. I'm cool with just keep everybody at arm's length.
Mike's too cool for us.
You people all stay away from me. But actually, that does make me very happy to hear, however. And it's another reminder why I like coming over to talk with you all and hear about these things. Because, I mean, look, you guys are dealing with a lot of, it's funny. To an outsider listening to this conversation, I'm kind of wondering like what they're taking in from this because they hear us laughing and telling stories and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is when I've been over here, and my son's with me today, and we're walking through the lobby, and, you know, I see the case managers out there working with people who are going through some tough times right now, and seeing them talk in the hallway or the lobby or walking them back into the case management area and seeing just how, you know, intense they're talking to the person and the look in their eyes like they're trying to communicate to the person, and you see this person there who just needs help, right? So while you're listening to this podcast and you're hearing everybody talk now after the fact and the sense of camaraderie, you got to remember in the middle of it, it's a lot different, isn't it? It's a lot more intense. Isn't it?
Definitely. Like
under pressure.
Literally praying through the process.
Yeah, we took time every day. And again, you know, as they mentioned earlier, you know, we were with a group of people from multiple states. And one of the things that we did every day was ended the day to kind of just talk about what everybody went through. And, you know, as a reflection, because they've shared so many stories, you know, one of these women that were from Ohio, you know, had a client come in and, you know, she thought she was helping because everything leading up to the moment was ready to go. And as she's sitting with this family, you know, they're getting calls about their new place, and these things were unwinding as they sat here doing paperwork with her. And so as they came in, they had this whole plan, and she's going to move them forward, and they're getting this new normal for them. And in the midst of, you know, 40 minutes, all of those plans fell apart as she watched. And she came in with these tears in her eyes of just this overwhelmment of emotion. And how do you walk with somebody, because that's what we do. You know, you're walking with them on this journey, and now she's walking with them on something she's never experienced before. This family has never also now experienced it, but so now they've survived a disaster. They have this hope that they're holding on to, and it just came crashing down. And she just stood there, and I don't know what to say. And so, you know, I talked through that with her, and she went back in, and I think things were able to kind of work out a little. But, you know, there are the moments, like, we get to look back on these moments that impacted us and kind of bring us hope and make us feel energized about what we could do. But in those moments, you know, there were tears. I mean, we were talking in meetings with tears in our eyes and just coming together to figure out, you know, what do we do next? And how do you say that to somebody? You know, how do you tell them to hold on to hope, but there's nothing I can do for you in this moment, and there's just still time you have to wait. And there's a beauty in what we do, and there's an ugliness that you try and teach people about what recovery looks like. It's not easy. Recovery takes time.
And like I told Katie, I said, I experienced a house fire, and I know how it is to have something completely taken from you. I mean, it's maybe not as drastic as theirs, but a disaster is a disaster.
Yeah.
And I told her later on, you know, that night when me and my kids was in the hotel, they was like, Mom, you cry ugly. So I was like, what? Who says that? They was like, we just never seen you cry before, and you just and I was telling her how my daughter, when the whole process happened, she grabbing a basket with her sneakers, like she was saving her stuff. So it was funny, but we just took our pain and made it a happiness. We just tried to reflect on the joy part of it, and that's one of the things, like when I went down there and was talking to people, I just reflected back on what happened with my situation and how I did the best to handle it. So I tried to give them some type of hope. I tried to encourage them mostly, just to, you know, let them know, even the people that we couldn't approve or getting help. I tried to let them know, if even though it didn't work out here, just know that it's going to work out somewhere else. It might not be at this moment, but it's definitely going to be a moment. And just keep holding on to those A moments, because those A moments are going to add up to the great moment. Like, you got to just let them know that it's still going to work out. It's still going to matter some way, somehow for them.
Well, thank all three of you for doing the work you do here as part of your regular job and what you did on your deployment. Thank you for always being a great example of the good work of Catholic Charities of South Jersey. So keep up the good work. And Katie, keep coming up with stories for me so I can come back. And you can come back on the podcast as my co-host every time. I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait.
And to our listeners, support your local Catholic charities any way you can. And we'll be back next week with another episode. See you, everybody.